What's going on, guys? I'm back with my 25 Days of Christmas Marathon, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most underappreciated Christmas films of all time, Bad Santa. Willie Stokes and his partner reunite once a year for a holiday con, posing as a mall Santa and his elf, ripping off shopping outlets on Christmas Eve. This year, however, Willie is falling apart. He's a depressed alcoholic, and the erratic behavior draws the suspicion of the mall security. But when befriending a small boy brings out his kinder side, Willie begins to wonder if there's still some hope for him. So off the bat, this is a pretty unorthodox tale. It isn't so much a story-based film, although it has some charming notes, but more so a character study of someone who doesn't necessarily make a 180 turn for the better, but makes improvements along the way, but still ends up in a similar spot from where the film started. You're probably asking yourself, what does this all mean? So let's unpack it. For starters, Billy Bob Thornton's demeanor and his delivery needs to be studied upon all film schools, museums, and everything else in between, because this is a generational performance for this style of character. There are definitely other redeeming qualities for this film, we'll get into that in a minute, but Bad Santa is as good as it is because of him and his approach to this character. He puts on this anti-charismatic performance, because in a film like this, where the theme should be holly and jolly, he turns it the complete opposite direction, but because of the way he attacks the role, he makes the film and the character much more easy to digest. Just like in, say, Bad News Bears, he's a complete wasteman, but through his line delivery and mannerisms, you find yourself rooting for him because there always seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. What may not be as likable to the casual movie fan, it makes the film that much better for my money, and it isn't just because of the trials and tribulations he goes through, but more so the outcome of his character. Usually in a baseline film, the character starts from ground zero and makes a complete turnaround, and although Thornton's character does make a bit of a turnaround for the better, his character doesn't really make a change. He's still basically the same guy from the beginning, which not only heightens the message of the film, but also sets it apart from other films that have a similar character process. Honestly, his character arguably gets lower and lower, but shows signs of change, while, in a weird way, makes it all that much sweeter. Although the film kind of practically relied on Thornton's performance, his character wouldn't be able to thrive as well as he did without the supporting cast in Brett Kelly, Tony Cox, and Lauren Graham. With Brett Kelly's character, in reality, he doesn't really add much to the film, to the point that they didn't even introduce a name to the third act, and even after that, they still ignored the fact they gave him a name and just called him the Kid. But man, he is such a likable character for my money, and a necessary addition to the film to add on to the sweetness of it, and also to boot Thornton's character as well. His character really doesn't have much of an arc, but the lessons he learns from Thornton, and also the lessons he teaches Thornton, was a very nice touch. His character is certainly that poor thing style of character, which can sometimes come off as bait for films to be like, look, we're being sentimental. But like Billy Bob Thornton's character, the way he acts out that style of character and delivers his lines works so well, because it was so easy to get invested in and root for him. Another important character was Tony Cox's Marcus. Not only was he good in the role, but he was also an important character to bounce off of Thornton, where their dynamic worked really well, because in a sense, he was a big reason why Thornton's character couldn't escape the bad life. Cox was always there to pull Thornton back into it. And the last character I wanted to talk about was Lauren Graham. She plays the inevitable forceful love interest, but in an orthodox way. Usually the love interest will try to help derail the bad events of the main protagonist's journey, but in this film, she kind of just doesn't. She kind of sort of plays both sides in a way, where she wasn't this heaven-sent being for Thornton's character, almost playing into Thornton's bad habits, but like the Kid, she helps complement his character. But when it does come down to the story, it does get credit for being its own thing, but to a familiar concept. It's the film where you have a jerk-off protagonist, also known as an anti-protagonist, that they may not care for in the beginning but end up somehow rooting for in the end, while having the other predictabilities in the story structure and the way the plot moves. But for me, the film certainly sets itself apart from the rest due to the progression, or really the lack of progression from our lead. In an odd way, it almost feels like Uncut Gems, where Adam Sandler is this investable character, but every time something goes right, he does something to screw it up, but the audience is still there to support him. The other part that kind of sets itself apart from the rest was the cheeky twist at the end. To some, it may come off as predictable, but during my first watch, I didn't quite expect it, because there was so much other stuff going on that it came off as a pleasant surprise. And one of the other bits of the film that I'd be remiss not to talk about, that's the script. When there isn't just bits of banter going on, it can come off a bit standard, but where it sets itself apart is with the dry humor. Throughout the entire film, right from the opening act, the film is just riddled with hilarious jokes and one-liners, while also being coupled with quick, snappy bits of banter that really worked well, having loads of memorable lines. Overall, Bad Santa is not perfect. There isn't a whole lot to do with the production or the technical aspects of the film. Not all the characters feel like they lived up to the potential that could have been, and maybe the script could have been beefed up just a bit more. But overall, for my money, this film is criminally underrated. Bad Santa gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Let me know what you think of Bad Santa in the comments below, and let me know what film you'd like to see me review next. See you guys on the next one.